Welcome to another installment of Throne Room Worship. In this segment, we'll consider how worship opens a door to heaven and how the use of the harp can greatly enhance the effectiveness of prayer. The Apostle John tells us in 1 John 5:14 and 15, "Now this is the confidence that we have in him, that if we ask anything according to his will, he hears us. And if we know that he hears us, whatever we ask, we know that we have the petitions that we have asked of him." When we get a revelation of the willingness of the Lord to respond to our prayers, our faith grows and our prayer life becomes an exciting adventure. As we draw near to God, he draws near to us, James 4:8. And he promises that if we search for him with all our heart, we will find him. That's Jeremiah 29:13. These portions of Scripture imply a high level of intimacy with God as we interact with him in prayer. This is why the beauty of the harp is the perfect instrument to accompany our prayers and worship. Revelation 5:8 tells us that there is an interaction with incense and our prayers in the heavenly realm that is accompanied by the 24 elders playing harp around the throne of God. Is it that God simply likes the sound of the harp? Apparently he does, but for what purpose? Let's for a moment consider the mechanism of the harp. The harp is actually a very simple device. All it is a string stretched across a frame of some kind. The strings are pulled tight so as to vibrate musically at a set of predetermined frequencies depending on its length and tension. Note that the frame must be strong, as a significant number of strings pull at the frame, building a fair amount of kinetic energy that is stored up in the system. That's it. Technically, it's a bit complicated when you add levers or pedals that activate a mechanism to change the key of the instrument. I'll share more on that when I share about my invention of a new electronic harp called the Harpella in another installment of Throne Room Worship. But essentially, the harp is as simple a musical instrument as you can get. There's something elemental and ancient about the concept. Now for a moment, in contrast, let's consider the creation of nature and all matter in the universe. Currently, in the field of quantum physics, string theory is the most accepted of theories of all that is. Please note the humor in juxtaposing harp strings with the grand theory of everything, but bear with me. Also, much more detail on this can be found in my book, The Frequency of the Supernatural, revealing the mysteries of God's quantum universe. This theory that states everything is comprised of filaments stretched out as strings of vibrating energy. All atoms have an initial potential energy infused into them at the time of their creation. Before anything existed, God used the vibration of his voice to create everything. He simply spoke and the whole universe began reverberating with the energy of his omnipotence. In a sense, like the well-tuned harp, every atom was created with an initial tightening of the strings when he wound up creation. So let's connect the dots. Playing the harp sets a harmonious vibration that when played as worship carries the presence of God. This is true of any form of worship, as the scripture tells us in Psalm 22:3, that God inhabits the praises of his people. In reality, our prayers are ushered into God's presence with the sound of the harp via golden bowls. So there is a mystical connection between harp playing and prayer. This is comparable to how a radio receives a signal at certain frequencies. Interestingly, a radio signal often uses what is called a carrier frequency to deliver the signal to our radios. Similarly, it appears that the harp is the worship medium by which our prayers are conveyed to God. Part of the beautiful mystery is the opportunity for us to reciprocate heaven with the playing of the harp here on earth. If you are an intercessor or worship leader, and you play an instrument or sing, you may want to consider incorporating the use of the harp in your worship and prayer services. Perhaps you are a pastor and you'd like to find out how you can have the sound of the harp enhance your church's worship. The harp is especially appropriate for altar calls and times of prayer. Hello friends, Michael David here. I would like to invite you to join me March 19 to 26, 2023 for a special school that is taking place at the Set of the Chosen in Poolville, Texas, an hour and a quarter from Dallas. Many of our friends have enjoyed the ministry of the harp during our weekly Facebook and TikTok broadcasts and have wondered if they could learn to minister on the harp as well. Now you can learn to play the harp in just 1 week, even if you have never played the harp before. My method of instruction enables people to quickly learn to play by ear and be free to spontaneously worship and pray. I have had the privilege of traveling the world and playing a role in reestablishing the harp as an instrument for worship, intercessory prayer, and healing. And I want you to be a part of this life-changing experience. So join me March 19 to 26 at Capernaum Studios in Texas, where you'll see the Set of the Chosen and have your meals and accommodation right on site. Imagine an environment where you're totally immersed in learning the harp, along with wonderful times of deep worship and prayer, as well as memorable food and fellowship. To find out more about this school, to register, and get information about obtaining a harp, just follow the link you see posted here. If you can't make it to the live school, I also offer live online group classes, as well as a downloadable recording of my complete harp school. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Shalom.